Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. We'll just continue. What were the things that we discussed yesterday? So what were the things that we discussed yesterday? We discussed about demand. So what was demand? What is demand? What is demand? Demand is desire plus willingness to pay plus ability to pay, right? Then we discussed about demand is a relative concept which is dependent on what? Which are the two things on which demand is? Price and time. So demand will change from time to time, and it will also change as per there is a change in price of the product. Then we discussed about the law of demand. So what was being said in the law of demand? Law of demand says it was explained by law of demand was explained by Alfred Marshall, and it was explained in his book Principles of Economics. So what did he say? When price of the product increases, demand will decrease, and when price decreases, demand increases. Then what were the assumptions that we saw? All other factors should remain constant. Okay, so what are the factors that should remain constant? Factors like price will change, income should remain constant, price of complementary goods, substitute goods, size of population, okay, taste, habit, fashion, government policies, other factors, future expectations, right? So these were the things that should remain constant. These are the things. Again, are these assumptions true? No, these assumptions may at times be true, but all the assumptions cannot be always said as true. Okay. Then next, today we are going to discuss about the exceptions for the law of demand. So what will happen in the case of exception of demand? We are going to see an exact opposite result than that of law of demand. Okay. So what was seen in law of demand? We saw when price increases, demand decreases, and when price decreases, demand will increase, right? Now we are going to see what happens in the case of exceptions. Okay, before discussing about the exceptions, just we'll see that how was the graph for law of demand. The demand curve was downward sloping from left to right, right? This is the thing that we discuss. So whenever you will get the question of explain law of demand, what are the things that you need to explain? Firstly, you will write introduction. Second comes the statement. Third, you will show a schedule, and then you're going to show the graph. Okay, this will contain, or this question will be for 4 marks, and you will get 2 questions together. Explain law of demand with assumptions, explain law of demand with exceptions. So whenever you are asked about demand and its assumptions and exception, you're going to mention first all the things related to demand, its schedule, its graph, and then you will explain about its exceptions or assumptions. Okay, so now we'll start with the exceptions for the law of demand. Okay, so what happens in the case of exception of demand? Exception में क्या हो जाएगा? Law के हिसाब से होगा या उसके opposite effect देखने को मिलेगा? Opposite. So for exception, what will happen? When price increases, demand will increase, and second thing, when price decreases, demand will decrease. So for exception, the demand curve will be whichward sloping? Upward sloping from which direction? Left to right. It will be in a upward direction from left to right. Okay, then we'll see the exceptions one by one. So the first exception is giffen goods. Yeah, which is considered as one of the important thing, giffen goods. So what is giffen goods? Giffen goods are also called as dash goods. You can ask, you can have this question in your correlation or fill in the blanks anywhere. Okay, so giffen goods are inferior goods. So what happens in case of inferior goods? Superior goods are the goods of a better quality, and inferior goods are comparatively of a lower quality. So what happens in case of inferior goods? When the price of inferior good decreases, the demand will not increase, rather the demand will decrease. Why? Because people will save that money to buy a superior product. ओके एग्जाम्पल चलो देखते हैं. In case of dairy milk shots and coffee bite, which is the inferior product? Coffee bite. Okay, so now the price of coffee bite, you had 10 rupees with you, and you were able to buy 10, no, we'll say you were able to buy 10 coffee bite because the price of that product was 1 rupee each. Okay, now the price decreased from 1 rupee to 50 paise. Okay, so now instead of buying 20 coffee bites, what are you doing? You can buy say 12, not even 12, you can buy 8 coffee bites, which will cost you how much? 4 rupees. And next you can use the remaining money to buy what? Dairy milk shots. So you can buy 3 dairy milk shots, which will cost you 6 rupees, and you can buy 8 coffee bites, which will cost you 4 rupees. So is the demand increasing of the inferior goods when the price is decreasing? No. So inferior products का क्या होता है? जब उनकी प्राइस डिक्रीज होती है तो उनका डिमांड भी क्या होता है? डिक्रीज होता है. So is this opposite to the law of demand? Yes, you can have a separate question of 4 marks regarding Giffen goods as well. Okay, तो ये जो invention है ना, तो ये जो find out किया था about Giffen it was Giffen goods, it was being found by whom? Sir Robert Giffen. Okay, so what had happened during the time of World War, when the price of bread decreased, the demand for it should increase, but people opted not to buy, or to buy less quantity of, or to buy the same quantity of bread, and rather they saved the money to buy meat. Okay, so that time Sir Robert Giffen, he came to a conclusion that this thing is being seen in case of superior and inferior goods. So during the time of inferior goods, if the price of inferior good decreases, the demand for it will also decrease. So first exception to the law of demand is Giffen goods. Okay, what is the second one after Giffen goods? We are having prestigious goods. So prestigious goods are the goods which are showing the symbol, which is identity of few individuals. Okay, so example, gold. Even if the price of gold is increasing, today it is roughly 51,000, right? So the price of gold is increasing. It was 35,000 few years ago, but over a period of time, or even 5-6 days ago, or a month ago, it was roughly 48, 49. Now it has increased to 51. So even if the price of that product has increased, is its demand decreasing? No. So what is happening in case of prestigious goods? Even if the price of the product is increasing, the demand is not increasing. Why? Because that product is considered as a status symbol to few people. So even you can take into consideration iPhone, or you can take into consideration luxurious cars. All the luxurious items will be a part of prestigious goods, and rich people buy these products not for their need, but to show it as a status symbol. So in case of prestigious goods, even if the price increases, demand increases. Okay, then we have the next question of speculation. Okay, so again, this is an important thing. What happens in the case of speculation? Speculation is nothing but, do you know the meaning of speculation? Future expectation, right? For this, I will just show you with an example. Just give me a minute. Okay, so what happens in case of speculation? Example, let's say we'll take into consideration 3 dates. Okay, price of okay, we can say that price of gold or price of petrol. Price of petrol was 100 rupees on 15th Feb. Okay, then it increased to 105 rupees by 20th Feb. And we are expecting that by 25th of Feb, the price of that product will reach to 115. Are you going to buy the product on 20th Feb? Will you buy that product? Yes or no? लॉ के हिसाब से क्या होना चाहिए? प्राइस तो बढ़ गई है तो डिमांड शुड डिक्रीज, बट ऐसे हो रहा है क्या? No, why? Because we are expecting a rise in the price of the product in future, and that is why even if the price of the product is increasing, we are going to buy the product because we are expecting that the price of the product is going to increase to a greater extent in near future. Okay, so what is happening in case of speculation? The price has increased from the past, but we are expecting that in future the price will increase to a greater extent. Okay, so even if the price of the product increases, its demand will increase because we are expecting a further rise in near future. So this is again an exception to the law of demand. Okay, then we are going to see the next factor or the next exception to the law of demand. To the law of demand is just a minute. There's some network issue. There was some network issue. Okay, so after speculation is price illusion. Okay, so what happens in case of price illusion? Many a times we think that the products which are costly are of a better quality, and we tend to buy those products even if we are getting the same product at a lower cost. What is the assumption? We think that the price is costly, so it will give us a better quality, a better quantity, and all these things. And that is why, especially this has been seen in case of branded products. Right? What happens in case of branded products? We buy that product assuming that it is of a better quality, right? So in case of branded products, even if the price of the product is increasing, demand is not going to decrease. Okay, then next is ignorance. Many times we are unaware of the prices of the product which we want to buy. We assume that previously it was costly and now the price of that product has decreased. On the other hand, it is exactly the other situation. We are not aware of the change in price of the product, and that is why we buy the product at a higher cost. This happens mostly in case of vegetables or fruits when we are not known of the price of that product. So we buy that product even if the product is costlier. Okay, then next is habitual goods. So what happens in case of habitual goods? If a person is used to have any of the product, उसको आदत है वो प्रोडक्ट चाहिए ही चाहिए, so उसकी प्राइस even if the price of that product is increasing, उसका demand decrease हो जाएगा क्या? नहीं. You can remember the example of alcohol. After COVID, after the first lockdown, the prices of alcohol had increased. The people demand less of alcohol? No, rather its demand increased. Why? Because the wine shops were closed for a longer period of time, right? So what happened in case of alcohol? As it was a habitual good for few people, its demand didn't decrease even when there was a change in price of the product, rather it increased. Okay, so these are the exceptions for law of demand. Which are the exceptions? Giffen goods, prestigious goods, speculation, price illusion, and lastly, habitual goods. And last, yeah, the one which we missed was ignorance, when people are unaware of the change in price. Okay, so these are the exceptions for law of demand. Is that clear? Do you want me to explain a variation and change in demand? You all remember the diagram which we had drawn? Shall I draw it again? Because it is a question which you get it for difference between. You all remember, or shall we revise it again? Revise it? Okay. I'll just rub everything so that it will be easy for us to. Okay, is the law clear? Every one of your law assumptions, exceptions? Okay. This is again one of an important question which you can surely assume for your exams. Okay, this question is considered as very important question from the board point of view. तो assumptions नहीं तो exceptions कुछ तो हमेशा ही आता है वो उसको 8 मार्क्स पे. ठीक है. टाइप्स ऑफ डिमांड याद है? टाइप्स ऑफ डिमांड कौन से थे? डायरेक्ट, इनडायरेक्ट, जॉइंट, कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री एंड कंपोजिट. Okay, now we'll start with the part of variation of demand. So there are 4 things that we have to remember, or we can study it all together. Okay, so first is variation. Variation में 2 चीजें हैं that we have to remember. Which are those 2 things? Variation of demand है, right? Okay, so variation of demand. So variation of demand में आते हैं 2 चीजें. One is expansion and other is contraction of demand. ठीक है. So variation जो होता है, this acts as per the law. Okay, as per the law मतलब क्या? Variation से क्या हो जाएगी? Other factors will remain constant and price will change. Okay, this triangle shows the change. Okay, so price change हो जाएगी और other factors will remain constant. Okay, so expansion मतलब क्या? Increase या decrease? Expansion of demand, contraction of demand, expansion. तो इसमें 3 चीजें याद रखनी है. One is demand, second is price, third is other factors. Okay, so demand expand हो रहा है मतलब demand will increase. अगर demand बढ़ रहा है तो price क्या हो जाएगी? Price decrease हो जाएगी. और other factors क्या रहेंगे? Constant. So can we say variation is working same like the law of demand? Yes. उसके अपोजिट कॉन्ट्रैक्शन में क्या होगा? कॉन्ट्रैक्शन किसका है? प्राइस का है या डिमांड का है? डिमांड का है. सो डिमांड विल डिक्रीज, प्राइस विल इंक्रीज एंड अदर फैक्टर्स विल रिमेन कांस्टेंट. ओके, नो चेंज, जीरो चेंज इन अदर फैक्टर्स. ठीक है. फिर वी हैव टू रिमेम्बर और वील सी हाउ द ग्राफ ऑफ दिस thing will work. Okay, so पहले हम देखेंगे what will be the graph or how will be the graph for expansion of demand. Okay, x axis, y axis सब अच्छी तरीके से दिखाना है. y axis पे हमेशा क्या आता है? Y axis will show you price and x axis will show you quantity demanded. Okay, so initially the price of the product was 10 and quantity demanded was 100. ठीक है. अभी क्या हो जाएगा? प्राइस रिड्यूस हो गई. सो प्राइस 10 रुपीज से चलो वील कंसिडर दैट प्राइस हैज डिक्रीज टू 5 रुपीज. अगर प्राइस कम हो गई तो डिमांड क्या हो जाएगा? डिमांड बढ़ जाएगा. सो डिमांड इंक्रीज टू 150. Right, so we are getting our demand curve which is sloping downwards from left to right. Is it right what we have seen? है ना, हमने यही देखा है. एक्सपेंशन में क्या होता है? It is downward sloping from left to right, same as per the law of demand. है ना. प्राइस पहले 10 थी, प्राइस क्या हो गई है अभी? 5 हो गई है. So there is a decrease in demand, there is a expansion of demand and decrease in price. प्राइस कम हो गई है इसीलिए डिमांड बढ़ गया है and other factors are constant. And how will be the demand curve? It will be downward sloping from left to right. Okay, now we'll see about contraction of demand. Contraction of demand में क्या होता है? डिमांड decrease हो जाएगा. Why demand is decreasing? Because price of the product has increased. Okay, same example. पहले price कितना था? Y axis is showing price, x axis is showing quantity demanded. Initially the price was 10 and quantity demanded was 100. Right, अभी क्या हो जाएगा? प्राइस बढ़ गई है. So प्राइस 10 से 15 रुपीज हो गई है. तो डिमांड क्या हो जाएगा? Will it increase or will it decrease? It has decreased to say 70. Okay, so we'll just join these things and we'll get our curve. We'll get a demand curve again with how is the demand curve? In case of contraction, it is upward sloping. Okay, is that clear? It is sloping upward. So these are the two types of variation of demand. Okay, after variation, what is the next thing that we have to explain? Change in demand. Change in demand. So change in demand में क्या होता है? It is opposite to the law. मतलब क्या हो जाएगा? Price will remain constant and other factors में change दिखेगा. ठीक है, तो ये हो गया meaning. What happens in change of demand or change in demand? Price is going to remain constant and we can find a change or the other factors are the thing which is going to change. Okay, so यहाँ पे दो चीजें हैं. One is increase in demand and other is decrease in demand. Okay, तो as per the thing that we discussed, तीन चीजें क्या मेंशन करनी पड़ेगी? Demand, price and other factors. तो demand क्या हो जाएगा? When there is an increase in demand, demand बढ़ जाएगा. Other price will remain constant and other factors में we can see a change. Example, चलो, demand of a product increased because of change in fashion. ठीक है, फैशन चेंज हो गई और इसके वजह से एक प्रोडक्ट का डिमांड चेंज हो गया. ओके, एग्जांपल, पहले शर्ट्स की फैशन थी, अभी टी शर्ट्स की फैशन आ गई. इनिशियली टी शर्ट्स वो फॉर 250 रुपीज. ओके, अभी भी वो टी शर्ट 250 को ही है, बट इनिशियली द डिमांड फॉर टी शर्ट वाज ओनली 100 यूनिट्स. नाउ इट हैज इंक्रीज्ड टू 200 यूनिट्स. किसके वजह से? प्राइस के वजह से चेंज हो गया क्या? नो, it has changed because of other factors. So what we can say, in case of increase in demand, the demand curve is moving towards right or left? It has shifted towards right. Right, it has shifted towards right. Okay, now what happens in case of decrease in demand? Demand is going to decrease, price will remain constant और other factors में change आ सकता है. Okay, okay, चलो. So गवर्नमेंट ने प्लास्टिक बैग पे बैन कर दिया है, इसीलिए अभी प्लास्टिक बैग का डिमांड क्या हो जाएगा? डिक्रीज हो जाएगा, राइट? सो इनिशियली द डिमांड फॉर okay, so initial, just give me a minute. Okay, so initially the demand for plastic bags was 100 units. Okay, when the price of plastic bag was 10 rupees. ठीक है, अभी क्या हो गया है? because of change in government policies, now demand has reduced to 10 units. अभी demand कितना है plastic bags का? It's just 10 और पहले वो कितना था? 100. So what we can say, now the demand curve has shifted towards left. Okay, so इसमें क्या आता है? You can get a question of increase and expansion और decrease and contraction. ठीक है, तो क्या क्या लिखना है? प्राइस में क्या होने वाला है, अदर फैक्टर्स में क्या होने वाला है, फिर डिमांड whether it is increasing or decreasing, and lastly you can show the graph. Okay, in 3 or 4 lines you can show a small graph, but it will be better if you draw a graph. Okay, you can score well and it will be easy for you all to remember as well. Is this clear, everyone of you? Okay, fine. So with this, the main things regarding third A, the lesson third A are clear. Okay, Okay, so now we'll start with elasticity. Okay, this is again an important lesson. Third A, third B is considered very important. So what can you tell me about law of demand? What is law of demand? When price increases, demand decreases, and when price decreases, demand increases. What about other factors? Other factors are going to remain constant. Okay, so in the law of demand was explained by whom? Alfred Marshall. So when Alfred Marshall explained about the law of demand, he failed to explain about the changes or by what percentage there is a change. मतलब प्राइस 5 रुपीज से बढ़ गई तो डिमांड कितने परसेंट से कम होता है, ये लॉ में बोला है क्या? नहीं, लॉ में सिर्फ क्या बोला है, प्राइस बढ़ेगी तो डिमांड कम होगा, प्राइस कम होगी तो डिमांड बढ़ेगा, बट बाय व्हाट परसेंटेज, बाय व्हाट क्वांटिटी वी कैन सी दिस चेंज इज नॉट बीन एक्सप्लेन्ड इन law of demand. Okay, so that is why Alfred Marshall explained the next concept, which is known as elasticity of demand. Okay, so what is elasticity of demand? It is the responsiveness of change in quantity demanded due to change in प्राइस. ठीक है, मतलब क्या प्राइस में चेंज, डिमांड में चेंज हो गया बिकॉज ऑफ प्राइस, बट कितने परसेंट से? सो प्रोपोर्शनेट मतलब क्या? इट इज ट्राइंग टू फाइंड आउट द रेशियो, इट इज ट्राइंग टू एक्सप्लेन द चेंज इन क्वांटिटी डिमांडेड बिकॉज ऑफ चेंज इन प्राइस. ठीक है, तो ये समझने के लिए उसने ही एक्सप्लेन द कांसेप्ट ऑफ इलास्टिसिटी ऑफ डिमांड. तो इलास्टिसिटी ऑफ डिमांड का फॉर्मूला क्या है? इलास्टिसिटी ऑफ डिमांड is explained as percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price. ठीक है, you want me to show some of this? You won't get the sum for your exams, but how the formula works, do you want me to show it? No? Okay, so next thing that we are going to see, that you can get two questions. Okay, one is explain the types of elasticity, and other can be explain the types of price elasticity. Okay, so just remember, when you get a question of explain the types of elasticity, there are three types of elasticity. One is price, second is cross, and third is income. Okay, there are three types of elasticity, or price elasticity के 5 types है. So whenever you will get this question, read it properly, whether they are asking you about change in they are asking you about types of elasticity, or whether they are asking you types of price elasticity. Okay, so first type of elasticity is income elasticity. Okay, so what is income? Income is the money which an individual is going to receive. So when there is a change in income, will the demand also change? Yes. So when income increases, demand will increase. Most probably it will increase. But if I say if my income was 50,000 and now it has increased to 1 lakh rupees, so there is a change in income by how much percent? Or initially my income was 50,000, now it has increased to 75,000. So can we say there is a rise in my income by 50%? 50% से rise हो गई ना. पहले कितना था? 50,000. अभी कितना हो गया है? 75. So 50,000 is equals to 100%. तो 75 मतलब कितना परसेंट आ जाएगा? 150 आ जाएगा. तो चेंज कितने से हो गया? 100 और 150. डिफरेंस कितना है? 50 का है. You remember, or I should show it? Atola, you remember the way which we had done is, so what is the formula that is being used over here is percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in income. Okay, I will just show it to you all once so that you can just remember it, you can recollect it, and the students who have not attended can also understand. Okay, so for income, we'll take the same example. Okay, when my salary was 50,000, if we consider 50,000 is equals to 100%, so 75,000 is equals to kitna percent? So what are we going to do? Cross multiplication. So 75,000 into 100 divided by 50,000. 5 ones are 5, 5 twos are 10. राइट, सो ये चेंज कितने से आ जाएगा? How much will be the change? Okay, wait, I'll give you a simpler example in which you'll be able to remember it in a, or you'll be able to understand it in a better way. Let's take a simpler example. In smaller quantity. Okay, my pocket money was 100 rupees. Okay, my pocket money is like my income. So my pocket money was 100 rupees and now it has increased to 150 rupees. Okay, so if 100 rupees is equals to 100%, तो 150 rupees मतलब कितना परसेंट आ जाएगा? कैसे करोगे? क्रॉस मल्टीप्लाई 150 into 100 divided by 100, तो चेंज कितने से हो गया? 150 आ गया. तो चेंज कैसे फाइंड आउट करोगे? 150 minus 100. So my actual change is by 50%. याद आया? तो इसके लिए ये फॉर्मूला क्या है? परसेंटेज चेंज इन क्वांटिटी डिमांडेड डिवाइडेड बाय परसेंटेज चेंज इन प्राइस. ठीक है, दिस इज द फॉर्मूला दैट इज बीइंग यूज्ड टू कैलकुलेट व्हाट? टू कैलकुलेट इनकम इलास्टिसिटी. ओके, उसी तरीके से सेकेंड टाइप इज व्हाट? इनकम इलास्टिसिटी के बाद कौन सा आता है? प्राइस इलास्टिसिटी. Okay, so what happens in case of price elasticity? When the price of the product is going to change, its demand will also change, but by what percentage? ये find out करने के लिए we are using price elasticity. So price elasticity के केस में क्या होता है? Price elasticity का फॉर्मूला क्या है? Percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price of that product. Why? Because जैसे ही उस प्रोडक्ट की प्राइस चेंज होने वाली है उसके हिसाब से डिमांड भी उसका चेंज होने वाला है. ओके, यू वांट मी टू गिव यू ऑल एन एग्जांपल? एक एग्जांपल बघायचं. ओके, सो वील टेक द एग्जांपल when price of the product was 10 rupees, 100 units were demanded. Okay, this is rupees, this is unit. When price was 10 rupees, quantity demanded was 100. When price increased to 15 rupees, demand of that product decreased to 50 rupees. Okay, initially price was 100 rupees, demand was 100 units. Now the price increased. तो price increase हो गई और demand क्या हो गया है? Decrease हो गया. Now you want to calculate what? You have to calculate price elasticity. तो क्या? Firstly we'll have to find out percentage change in quantity demanded. तो पहले था 100, so 100 units is equals to 100%. तो 50 units is equals to कितना percent? 50. 100 minus 50 will give you how much? 50. So by 50%. Now we'll do the same thing for price. Initially price was 10 rupees. So 10 rupees is equals to 100%. So 15 rupees is equals to कितना percent? Again, what are we going to do? 15 into 100 divided by 10. So 15 tens are 150. So 100 minus 150 कितना आ जाएगा? 50. So प्राइस में कितने परसेंट से चेंज हो गया है? 50% में. और क्वांटिटी डिमांडेड में कितनी परसेंट से चेंज हो गया है? 50% से. So 50 divided by 50 will give you 1. So elasticity over here is 1. याद आया कैसे करना है? We had discussed this अच्छे से. So this is which kind of elasticity? This is price elasticity. Price elasticity का फॉर्मूला क्या है? Percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price of the product. Okay. फिर third type of elasticity. Third type of elasticity is क्रॉस इलास्टिसिटी, तो क्रॉस इलास्टिसिटी कब देखी जाती है? इन विच काइंड ऑफ गुड्स कैन वी फाइंड क्रॉस इलास्टिसिटी? वी कैन फाइंड इट इन केस ऑफ कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री एंड सब्स्टिट्यूट गुड्स. ओके, तो क्या होता है इन केस ऑफ कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री एंड सब्स्टिट्यूट गुड्स के लिए? दे हैव गिवन अस द फॉर्मूला. अल्फ्रेड मार्शल हैज गिवन अस द फॉर्मूला फॉर क्रॉस इलास्टिसिटी which says cross elasticity is equals to percentage change in, what is it? Percentage change in price of one product and quantity demanded of one product and the price of other product. You will remember it. I'll give you, can we solve it with the example? We'll solve it with an example. Okay, so cross elasticity का formula क्या है? Percentage change in quantity demanded of commodity A divided by percentage change in price of commodity B. Okay, we'll just solve it. What is the formula? We'll write down the formula first. So cross elasticity is equals to percentage change in quantity demand of commodity A divided by percentage change in price of commodity B. Okay, we'll take the example of tea and coffee. Can we say tea and coffee are substitute goods for one another? Substitute goods मतलब क्या? This or that, and complementary good means one and other one. Okay, so क्या होता है? पहले price of tea and coffee, ठीक है, price of tea and coffee was same, 10 rupees. इस तब जब price was 10 rupees, demand for coffee and tea was 100 units. This is the basic situation. ठीक है, फिर क्या हो गया? Price of tea remained same. Price of tea कितनी हो गई? Same है, बट कॉफी की प्राइस 15 रुपीज हो गई. तो कॉफी की प्राइस बढ़ गई एंड टी की प्राइस इज सेम. तो लोगों ने क्या किया? जो लोग पहले कितने लोग पीते थे कॉफी? 100 लोग पीते थे. अभी क्या हो गया है? कॉफी कॉस्टली हो गई है. सो पीपल हु यूज्ड टू 100 people who used to drink coffee, out of that now only 50 people are drinking coffee. Remaining 50 people have started drinking tea. ठीक है, तो हम क्या लिखेंगे यहाँ पे? परसेंटेज चेंज इन क्वांटिटी डिमांड ऑफ ए. मतलब टी का डिमांड कितने से बढ़ गया है? टी का डिमांड बढ़ गया बाय हाउ मच परसेंट? बाय 50%. और परसेंटेज चेंज इन प्राइस ऑफ कमोडिटी बी, कौन सी प्राइस है यहाँ पे? कॉफी या टी? कॉफी. कॉफी की प्राइस बढ़ गई है ना? वो कितने से बढ़ गई है? इट हैज इंक्रीज्ड बाय 50%. मतलब जो प्राइस, जो कमोडिटी की प्राइस बढ़ गई है वो नीचे आ जाएगा, और जो कमोडिटी की क्वांटिटी बढ़ गई है दैट विल बी इन दी अपर पार्ट, इन दी न्यूमरेटर. समझा? याद आया? पक्का? जिसकी प्राइस चेंज हो गई है वो नीचे, दोनों की क्वांटिटी चेंज हो गई है तो कंफ्यूजन हो सकता है. तो जो जिसकी प्राइस चेंज हो गई है वो नीचे आ जाएगा, और द रिमेनिंग वन विल बी इन योर न्यूमरेटर. नीचे मतलब डिनोमिनेटर, ऊपर विल बी योर numerator. Okay, so these are the three types of elasticity. So cross elasticity, price elasticity, and income elasticity. So when there is a change in price of a commodity, or we can say whenever there is a change in quantity demanded due to income, it will be income elasticity. When it is the quantity of a commodity demand, the quantity demanded of a commodity is changing because of change in the price of the other, in the price of the product, it will be उसी प्रोडक्ट की प्राइस बढ़ गई है, उसी प्रोडक्ट का डिमांड चेंज हो गया है, इट विल बी प्राइस इलास्टिसिटी. दूसरे प्रोडक्ट का प्राइस चेंज हो गया है, उसके वजह से इट इज इंपैक्टिंग ऑन सम अदर फैक्टर, ऑन द अदर प्रोडक्ट, इट विल लीड टू क्रॉस इलास्टिसिटी. समझा? पक्का? Okay, now most important thing, the question which is considered to be a most important question for your boards is the 5 types of price elasticity. Okay, so price elasticity is further divided in 5 parts, and the 5 parts, okay, can you tell me, can you name the 5 parts, types of price elasticity? perfectly elastic, perfectly inelastic, unitary, relatively elastic, and relatively inelastic. Okay, now we'll see each thing in detail. What is going to happen in all the cases? Okay, so first type is perfectly elastic. इलास्टिक मतलब क्या? इलास्टिक मतलब क्या? जो चेंज हो जाएगा या नहीं चेंज हो जाएगा? चेंज होगा. कौन चेंज होगा? डिमांड या प्राइस? नाम में ही लिखा है परफेक्टली इलास्टिक डिमांड, तो कौन चेंज हो रहा है? डिमांड चेंज हो रहा है. ठीक है, सो द 3 to 4 थिंग्स दैट यू ऑलवेज नीड टू रिमेंबर. परफेक्टली इलास्टिक डिमांड में क्या हो जाएगा? और व्हेनेवर यू विल गेट दिस क्वेश्चन, पहले यू हैव टू राइट अबाउट प्राइस. सो व्हेन देयर इज अ स्लाइट और negligible change. Okay, slight और no change. किसमें no change है? Slight या no change किसमें है? Price में. When there is slight or no change in price of the product, but there is a huge change in quantity demanded. Quantity demanded में कितना change है? Huge. Can you count it? No. There is an infinite change in quantity demanded. Then we call it as perfectly elastic demand. ठीक है, प्राइस में स्लाइट और नेग्लिजिबल चेंज, डिमांड में बहुत ज्यादा चेंज. दिस इज एन इमेजिनरी कंसेप्ट बट यू कैन रिमेम्बर. पेट्रोल, पेट्रोल के प्राइसेस 50% 50 पैसे से बढ़ गए. स्लाइट चेंज है. उस दिन, कल से प्राइस चेंज होने वाली है, आज बहुत ज्यादा भीड़ रहेगी. सो क्या होता है? प्राइस में हल्का सा चेंज और डिमांड में आज उसके वजह से क्या है? बहुत ज्यादा चेंज. देन इट कैन बी परफेक्टली इलास्टिक. Again, this is an imaginary concept, but just to remember, don't write the example of petrol in your exams. Okay, so perfectly elastic demand में क्या होता है? No change or slight change in price, huge change in quantity demanded. ठीक है, फिर उसके बाद you have to draw the graph for it. Okay, now I am not able to draw proper straight lines over here, so please take it into consideration. यहाँ पे y axis पे हमेशा प्राइस आएगी और x axis पे quantity demanded आ जाएगा. And now what are we going to show? Initially price of the product was say 100 rupees, and now there is a slight change. 101 हो गया, 102 हो गया, नहीं तो 99 हो गया. But demand में इतना change आ गया है कि we are not able to show it on which axis? X axis, right? So we are going to say that over here, so we can say that the demand curve will be horizontal, or it can be parallel to which axis? Which is the axis? X axis, right? See, you can see it over here. क्या हो रहा है? In perfectly elastic demand, when there is slight or no change in quantity demanded, infinite change, slight or no change in price, huge change in quantity demanded, it is leading to what? It is leading to perfectly elastic demand. The demand curve will be parallel to x-axis because we are unable to show where it is ending. The demand is increasing to such a great extent. Okay, so it will be called as perfectly elastic demand. तो इसमें ग्राफ कैसे आ जाएगा? इट इज हॉरिजॉन्टल. सो डिमांड कर्व कैसे है? डिमांड कर्व इज पैरेलल टू एक्स एक्सिस, and lastly your ED will be shown as infinity. Why? Because we are unable to count it. तो 5 चीजें आपको याद रखनी है हर इलास्टिसिटी में. फर्स्ट इज प्राइस में कितना चेंज, डिमांड में कितना चेंज, डिमांड कर्व कैसा है, ईडी कैसा है, और लास्ट ग्राफ. तो जब भी ये क्वेश्चन आ जाएगा, हर 5 टाइप्स है ऑफ प्राइस इलास्टिसिटी, और हर एक्सप्लेनेशन में यू हैव टू राइट इट, और यू हैव टू शो 5 पॉइंट्स. हाउ मच चेंज इन प्राइस, हाउ मच चेंज इन क्वांटिटी डिमांडेड, ईडी इज इक्वल्स टू हाउ मच, डिमांड कर्व कैसा है, और ग्राफ. ठीक है, नाउ वी विल सी द सेकंड टाइप, दैट इज परफेक्टली inelastic. परफेक्टली inelastic कौन है? डिमांड है. ठीक है, तो inelastic मतलब क्या? चेंज होगा या नहीं चेंज होगा? नो चेंज. सो व्हेनेवर देयर इज, प्राइस में क्या है, even if there is a change in price, even if price increases or decreases, demand remains constant, then it will be called as perfectly inelastic demand. तो पहले हमने किसके बारे में बोला, प्राइस के बारे में, प्राइस बढ़े या कम हो जाए. सेकेंड क्या होगा, डिमांड विल रिमेन कांस्टेंट. थर्ड थिंग व्हाट वी हैव टू एक्सप्लेन इज ईडी. यहाँ पे ईडी क्या आ जाएगा, ईडी विल ऑलवेज बी जीरो. फिर डिमांड कर्व कैसे आ जाएगा, ये हम ड्रॉ करके ही देखेंगे कैसे आ जाता है. सो आई विल टेक द एग्जांपल ऑफ मेडिसिन. ओके, यहाँ पे प्राइस है, यहाँ पे क्वांटिटी डिमांडेड है. योर ग्रैनी इज नॉट वेल, उसको बीपी है, आपको हर महीने उसको 30 टैबलेट्स डिमांड करना पड़ता है. सो डिमांड इज 30. ओके, प्राइस ऑफ दैट टैबलेट वाज इनिशियली 10 rupees. हाउ मच टैबलेट्स आर यू गोइंग टू डिमांड, 30 फॉर एवरी मंथ. फिर क्या हो गया, प्राइस इंक्रीज हो गया, फ्रॉम 10 इट इंक्रीज टू 15. हाउ मच टैबलेट्स आर यू गोइंग टू डिमांड नाउ, 30. ओके, फिर क्या हो गया, फिर प्राइसेस वापस कम हो गए, 5 rupees हो गया टैबलेट का. अभी कितना डिमांड करोगे, 30 डिमांड करोगे. जब प्राइस बढ़ गई तो आप बोलोगे हाफ टैबलेट ले लो, नहीं. जब कम हो गई तो बोलोगे 2 टैबलेट्स लो, नो. सो डिस्पाइट ऑफ द चेंज इन प्राइस, डिमांड इज कांस्टेंट. वी कैन सी दिस इन केस ऑफ नेसेसरी प्रोडक्ट्स. जो नेसेसरी प्रोडक्ट्स है उसको हम डिले नहीं कर सकते हैं. वी कैन नॉट वेट इवन इफ द प्राइसेस आर इंक्रीजिंग और डिक्रीजिंग, द डिमांड विल रिमेन कांस्टेंट. तो इसका डिमांड कर्व कैसा है, DD कर्व इज पैरेलल टू y एक्सिस. 5 चीजों में से कौन सा हो गया, प्राइस के बारे में बोला, डिमांड के बारे में बोला, ईडी कैसा है बोला, डिमांड कर्व कैसा है, लास्टली यू हैव टू शो द ग्राफ. ओके, क्लियर. First was perfectly elastic, second is perfectly inelastic, third is unitary. Okay, so unitary elastic में क्या होता है, unitary मतलब same same. When there is a equal change किसमें है, प्राइस में and quantity demand में. अगर same percentage से change हो सकता है, then it will lead to which kind of elasticity, it will lead to यूनिटरी इलास्टिक डिमांड. ठीक है, तो ईडी विल ऑलवेज बी 1. कैसे, क्या आ जाएगा, हमारा फॉर्मूला क्या है, परसेंटेज चेंज इन क्वांटिटी डिमांडेड डिवाइडेड बाय परसेंटेज चेंज इन प्राइस. ठीक है, तो ऊपर भी अगर 50 आया, नीचे भी 50 आ गया, तो इट विल बी 1, है ना. सो व्हेन देयर इज अ सेम चेंज इन क्वांटिटी डिमांड, क्वांटिटी डिमांडेड में कितना चेंज हो गया, 50% से. प्राइस में कितना चेंज हो गया, 50% से. So is this change same? Yes. So it will lead to what? It will lead to unitary elastic demand. ठीक है, तो इसका डिमांड कर्व कैसे है ये हम देखेंगे. उसके लिए we'll show a graph first. Okay. Okay. So initially price of the product was 10 rupees and quantity demanded was 100. ठीक है, so 10 rupees से प्राइस कम हो गई, डिमांड प्राइस डिक्रीज टू 5 rupees, मतलब परसेंटेज चेंज कितना हो गया, 50% से प्राइस कम हो गई. तो डिमांड क्या हो जाएगा, डिमांड विल इंक्रीज बाय 50%. सो डिमांड बिकेम 150. सो कैन वी से देयर इज अ सेम चेंज इन क्वांटिटी डिमांडेड एंड प्राइस. यस. सो हाउ इज द डिमांड कर्व, इट इज it will be a rectangular hyperbola. Okay, so again this can be an imaginary concept because ये बहुत कम situation में ऐसे हो सकता है कि प्राइस एंड क्वांटिटी डिमांडेड में सेम चेंज आता है. ठीक है, तो क्या क्या याद रखना है, प्राइस में सेम चेंज, that of quantity demanded, ED will be 1, demand curve will be a hyperbola and the graph. Okay, यहाँ पे one thing you have to remember, इसमें जहां y एक्सिस में जितना डिफरेंस है वो एंड ये डिफरेंस शुड बी सेम. ठीक है, क्लियर. ये हो गए फर्स्ट 3 टाइप्स ऑफ इलास्टिसिटी ऑफ डिमांड. ओके, नाउ वी विल डिस्कस द लास्ट 2 टाइप्स ऑफ इलास्टिसिटी ऑफ डिमांड. सो नेक्स्ट इज रिलेटिवली इलास्टिक डिमांड. ओके, रिलेटिवली इलास्टिक कौन है, प्राइस या डिमांड, डिमांड. सो व्हाट हैपेंस, less change in price and more change in quantity demanded. ठीक है, मतलब if price decreases by 20%, प्राइस कम हो गई कितने परसेंट से, 20% से, बट डिमांड इंक्रीज्ड बाय 50%. ठीक है, सो अभी आप देखो हमारा फॉर्मूला क्या है, परसेंटेज चेंज इन क्वांटिटी डिमांडेड डिवाइडेड बाय परसेंटेज चेंज इन प्राइस, है ना. सो 50 डिवाइडेड बाय 20, आंसर क्या आ जाएगा, विल इट बी मोर देन 1 और लेस देन 1, मोर देन 1. यहाँ देखो टेक्स्ट बुक में मोर देन 1 दिया है. रिलेटिवली इलास्टिक डिमांड में ईडी इज मोर देन 1. कैसे क्या आ गया, याद रखने की जरूरत नहीं है आपको, सिर्फ फॉर्मूला याद रखना है, परसेंटेज चेंज इन क्वांटिटी डिमांडेड अपॉन परसेंटेज चेंज इन प्राइस. तो 50% डिवाइडेड बाय 20%, तो आंसर विल बी मोर देन 1, है ना. 50 डिवाइडेड बाय 50 आया था तो 1 था, 1 वाज द आंसर. 50 इज ग्रेटर देन 20, so of course when you divide it ed will be more than 1. तो क्या एक्सप्लेन करना है, when there is a more change in quantity demanded than that of price, more change in quantity demanded, less change in price, it will lead to relatively elastic demand. ठीक है, ed कैसे आ जाएगा, ed will be greater than 1. ठीक है, इसका ग्राफ कैसे आता है देखते हैं. चलो we'll take the same example everywhere. Okay, price was 10 rupees, quantity demanded was 100 units. अभी क्या हो गया, हमारी प्राइस 20% से कम हो गई है, so price will be 8 rupees. और डिमांड कितने से बढ़ गया है, 50%. so prices quantity demanded is 150 and price is 8 rupees. ठीक है, तो क्या हो जाएगा, वी गेट अ डिमांड कर्व विच इज फ्लैटर. ठीक है, अभी यहाँ पे आप ग्राफ में देख सकते हो, प्राइस में थोड़ा सा ही चेंज है और क्वांटिटी डिमांडेड में बहुत ज्यादा चेंज है. दिस चेंज इज ग्रेटर देन द अदर चेंज, है ना. ये जो चेंज दिख रहा है ये 50% का, ये ज्यादा है, और ये कैसा है, ये बहुत कम है. सो कैन वी से इट इज relatively elastic demand. Yes. Okay, so यहाँ पे और एक चीज what we have to mention, how will be the curve, dd curve will be flatter. Okay, when small change in price leads to a greater change in quantity demanded, it will be relatively elastic demand. Okay, where ed will be greater than 1, demand curve will be flatter, and then you will show your graph. Is that clear? Okay, now last, fifth type of elasticity is relatively inelastic. Relatively inelastic demand, कौन कम change होगा, now small change in, sorry, more change. Okay, now we'll see. In case of relatively inelastic demand, what happens is there is a greater change in what? Greater change in price or quantity demanded. More change in price, less change in क्वांटिटी डिमांडेड. क्यों क्वांटिटी डिमांडेड कैसे है, इनइलास्टिक है. इनइलास्टिक मतलब ज्यादा चेंज नहीं हो जाएगा. कौन ज्यादा चेंज नहीं होगा, प्राइस और क्वांटिटी डिमांडेड. क्वांटिटी डिमांडेड नाम याद रखो, रिलेटिवली इनइलास्टिक डिमांड, तो ज्यादा चेंज you won't find lots of change in quantity demanded, so there will be a greater change in price and less change in quantity demanded. Okay, so let's take into example, अगर price decreases by 50%, प्राइस में कितना चेंज हो गया, 50% से, और क्वांटिटी डिमांडेड में इंक्रीज हो गया बट ओनली बाय 10%. ठीक है, सो किस में ज्यादा चेंज है, प्राइस में या क्वांटिटी डिमांडेड में? प्राइस में कितना परसेंट चेंज है, 50%। क्वांटिटी डिमांडेड में कितना चेंज है, 10%। सो हमारे फॉर्मूला के हिसाब से परसेंटेज चेंज इन क्वांटिटी डिमांडेड विल बी 10 अपॉन परसेंटेज चेंज इन प्राइस 50%, will it be 0 point something? So can we say ED will be less than 1? Yes, है ना, 10 को 50 से डिवाइड करोगे तो क्या आ जाएगा, 0.5 आ जाएगा। So is 0.5 less than 1? Yes. So इसका ग्राफ कैसे आ जाएगा, we'll see how the graph will be. Same thing, पहले price was 10 rupees, quantity demanded was 100। ठीक है, अभी प्राइस क्या हो गई है 10, सॉरी प्राइस हैज डिक्रीज बाय 50%। सो 10 का 50% क्या आ जाएगा, 5 रुपीज। सो प्राइस 50% से बढ़ गई है और डिमांड इंक्रीज हो गया, बट डिमांड कितने से इंक्रीज हो गया, डिमांड हैज इंक्रीज जस्ट बाय 10%। सो इट इज 110 यूनिट्स आर बीइंग डिमांडेड नाउ। ठीक है, तो ये हमको ऐसे मिल जाएगा एंड दिस विल बी आवर डिमांड कर्व व्हिच इज फ्लैटर और स्टीपर। So demand curve will be a steeper one। ठीक है, यहाँ पे वापस हमको क्या देखने को मिलेगा, ज्यादा चेंज किसमें है, प्राइस में या क्वांटिटी डिमांडेड में? मोर चेंज इन प्राइस, ये डिफरेंस ज्यादा है, ये कंपैरेटिवली बहुत कम है, राइट? सो व्हेनेवर देयर इज मोर चेंज in price and less change in quantity demanded, it will lead to relatively inelastic demand। ठीक है, क्विक रिवीजन, परफेक्टली इलास्टिक डिमांड में क्या होता है, स्लो और नेग्लिजिबल चेंज, स्लाइट और नेग्लिजिबल चेंज इन प्राइस, ह्यूज चेंज इन क्वांटिटी डिमांडेड। डिमांड कर्व कैसे आ जाएगा, हॉरिजॉन्टल पैरेलल टू एक्स एक्सिस। सेकंड इज परफेक्टली इनइलास्टिक डिमांड, प्राइस में चेंज हो जाएगा इवन इफ द प्राइस इंक्रीजेस और डिक्रीजेस एंड इफ द डिमांड रिमेन्स कांस्टेंट इट विल बी परफेक्टली inelastic demand। So ED will be 0, demand curve will be parallel to y-axis। Third is unitary elastic, so when there is a same change in price and quantity demanded it will lead to unitary elastic demand। ED will be 1 and demand curve कैसे हो जाएगा, rectangular hyperbola। Fourth is relatively elastic demand, when more change in, for relatively elastic demand more change in quantity demanded, less change in price, it will lead to relatively elastic demand। okay, and ED कैसे आ जाएगा, ED will be greater than 1 and demand curve will be, it will be a flatter। okay, last उसके बाद आता है relatively inelastic demand। relatively inelastic demand में क्या होता है, more change in price, less change in quantity demand। ठीक है, so how will you write, when the percentage change in quantity demanded is less than the percentage change in price, it will lead to relatively inelastic demand। okay, so proportionate change हर जगह पे लिखना है। okay, so when there is a greater change in quantity, greater change in price and less change in quantity demanded, it will be relatively inelastic demand। demand curve कैसे आ जाएगा, steeper आ जाएगा। ED will be less than 1। याद आया पक्का। नेसेसरी प्रोडक्ट्स के लिए कैसे होगा डिमांड, which kind of elasticity will be find in necessary products, perfectly elastic। in case of luxurious products perfectly elastic, प्राइस चेंज हो गई तो डिमांड चेंज हो जाएगा। लग्जरियस प्रोडक्ट्स में क्या हो जाएगा, इट विल बी ईदर रिलेटिवली इलास्टिक और इनइलास्टिक। प्राइस में थोड़ा सा चेंज, क्वांटिटी डिमांडेड में ज्यादा चेंज रहेगा, सो इट विल बी रिलेटिवली इनइलास्टिक। ठीक है, इज दिस क्लियर? सो लक्झरियसला एवढा काही फरक नाही पडत, त्याच्या प्राइसेस ऑलरेडी खूप जास्त असतात. So it will not make a vast difference. Okay, we'll just discuss the exercise of this. Okay, wherever they have given the question accordingly now. Yeah, ED is equals to 0 in case of which goods? See, they have given it. ED is 0 in case of necessary. Okay, then okay, complete the following. Okay, so price elasticity of demand on a linear demand curve at the x-axis is parallel to x-axis. Page number 34. Linear curve at x-axis is 0. Next is price elasticity of demand on a linear demand curve at the y-axis is equal to infinity. Demand curve is parallel to x-axis in case of perfectly elastic. When percentage change in quantity demanded is more than the percentage change in price. Percentage change in quantity demanded is more and change in price is less. So it will be no. So curve कैसे रहेगा? Flatter. Okay. And ED is 0 in case of which goods? Necessary goods. Okay. Clear? और कुछ doubt है? पक्का?